Hello, I hope this finds you well today. I decided to do this and go with my Messenger Oracle deck today and see what comes up. I know that I have been having a crazy week myself, so this is going to be fun. Okay, what we have is become a shapeshifter. This art is really cool. Be patient. Oh, that's always a fun one, especially for my mom. And seek your answers within. All right, so I'm going to go into the book here. So we have Become a Shapeshifter. Ugh, this part is more difficult than anything. All right. It says, the kitsune is a shapeshifter, a mythical fox that can take on human form. At this time, a shapeshifter is what you need to become. All too often, we restrict and limit ourselves by embracing rigid labels, definitions, and ideas of who we are and who we are meant to be. From one moment to the next, you are always the person you are meant to be. But if you open yourself to growth, you can become more. Like the kitsune, the more tails you have, the more powerful and wise you become. And so this is really all about letting go of limitations, letting go of the labels, the definitions of who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be, and really allow yourself to be you, to be yourself, to be your authentic self, and to allow yourself to shift and change with that, to step out of the labels, to step out of those definitions, to step out of those rigid confines that we put ourselves in. Really step out of the box. Get out of your own box. You know, regardless of who put that box there, we have the power to step out of it. And so the next one is to be patient. So being patient is fun. So it says to not let your desire for an outcome or resolution result in one that is not to your liking because you forced it to manifest before it was time. Trust that all will be as it is meant to be when it is meant to be. Be still, let go of all frustration and impatience, and remember that good things come to those who wait. And so when we're shifting, when we're making those changes, when we're stepping out of our box, we really have to be patient with ourselves because it doesn't happen overnight. It is a process and it takes time. It takes effort. It takes awareness. It takes a whole lot from us, you know, and sometimes when we're shifting, when we're changing, when we're going through this process, we try to force it. We're like, oh, but I want to be there right now, but we're not ready, you know, and so when we're forcing and we're pushing, we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot, you know, and so we really need to be patient with ourselves in our growth, to know that some days, you know, some days we're just not feeling it. Maybe there's just a day where we need to rest, where we just need to step out of everything, you know, step outside of those roles and just let ourselves be ourselves. You know, sometimes it's just an hour, sometimes it's a whole day, you know, sometimes it's really what it is for what you need in that moment. And that's part of self-care. So that's part of that caring for yourself as you're growing, as you're shifting, as you're changing, because it is a lot of work, and we do go through a lot physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically, and we've got to be able to care for all of that. And so we have to be patient with ourselves as we're going through this change, as we are becoming our own shapeshifter. And then seek the answers within. And so it says, if you find yourself confused, your intuition and inner voice drowned out by the answers, wisdom and advice of others, then it's time for you to step away. Withdraw to a place of solitude. Like the bear, it's time for you to hibernate, to go within and seek the void, and to embrace the silence that dwells within. Within that silence are the answers to your questions, and because they are answers born of your truths, they will be answers that move you forward instead of holding you still. And so that really kind of goes with the patience, you know, being able to say, okay, yes, I want to change. I want to step out of this box. Be patient with yourself as you do so. It is a lot. And, you know, it's amazing when we first start how radically our lives can change. And so knowing too that, you know, as we step out and as we start letting go of the labels, of the definitions, of everything that's been placed on us, that our answers are within us. And so we can often listen to everyone else out here. You know, what is this spiritual experience supposed to look like? What is that spiritual experience supposed to look like? And the reality is it is different for every one of us. And so when we take our time, when we take that moment to be still within, then we allow ourselves to hear what's right for us. Because what's right for one person isn't necessarily right for another. You know, we are all different. We are all very unique. And so we all have very unique ways of going about our growth, going about our shape-shifting. You know, and so as you're growing, as you're changing, as you are actively choosing to step out of the labels and the confines that other people, that society, that family, that whatever puts around you, you know, be patient with yourself. It is a process, very much is a process, and know that the answers, that your truth, that the authenticity that you're seeking is within you. And so give yourself the time to sit with yourself, to ask yourself, where do I go with this? How do I want to express myself here? How do I want to show up in, you know, at work? How do I want to show up in my family? How do I want to show up in my marriage? How do I want to show up as a mom? You know, so looking at even all of our roles that we're in and asking our own heart, how do we want to show up in this? Because the world has so many definitions and so many things of what we're supposed to look like in any one of those roles. And we try to force ourselves to fit those molds, and it doesn't work. Where we burn out, we're stressed out, we get depressed, we have anxiety, we numb out with alcohol or whatever, you know, at the end of the day. And, you know, those are things that aren't conducive to our health, not conducive to our well-being. And so to shift out of those, be patient and listen to what's within you, because recognize that your truth is there and that how you want to show up is there. And even though you might say, oh, I want to be, you know, this most amazing confident person at work tomorrow, when it's not how you've been, you know, it's not necessarily going to happen like that overnight. And that is why it's so important to be patient with yourself as you're shifting, as you're growing, but to trust that where you're going and where you're at and how you're getting there, that you're in the right place, you know, that you're right where you need to be when you need to be there. And to trust your own heart, you know, to trust your heart in the process. And I think that's a very tricky thing for many of us, because we've learned to listen to every voice outside of us, and we've learned to ignore the one within. And so it's important to listen to your voice within, listen to your own heart, and be patient with yourself as you change, as you shapeshift, as you step into a new way of being. So love yourself in the process. Love yourself as you shapeshift. And we go through it many times. We do not shapeshift once. You know, be patient and listen to the truth and that authenticity that's within, because our hearts truly are our compass. It is our true north in here. And when we listen to that, when we're patient with it, we shift into the people that we want to be, our higher selves, our highest selves, and we can show up in that way that we've always longed to. So there we go, Messenger Oracle. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day and that you are patient and loving with yourself as you shift.